If you want to make beats better than 99% of producers out there, you have to follow this one simple concept, and it's the mastering of timing. Let me show you guys what good timing sounds like. So let's turn our effects back on, and then I'll show you guys and how powerful effects are. But let's play the beat. This is a Jay Dilla reference style track. All right, so what we are going to do is quantize each of these elements. So the kick will be quantized. I'll show you guys what that sounds like. Then we're going to quantize the snare, and then we're going to quantize the hi-hat. So what I'm doing is creating clones of each, and I'll show you guys how amateurs tend to do their drums, since drums are so important in hip hop and R&B. So let's send these to the mixer here. And we're going to send these to different channels here so that we don't mix these up with the original. So let's hit Control L. So these are now in the mixer. And what we'll do for this test is create a new group called Quantized Drums, just to show you guys what it sounds like. And we're not even going to route these to the master, just to show you guys the difference in the mixing versus non-mixed. So now we have all these drums sent to one channel. And let's see what the volume looks like here. So now in the beginning, we should get a more stiff sound once we quantize. So firstly, let's go in here and let's force a quantize. What beginners do is they'll hit Control Q. Some won't even do that. They'll just hit Alt Q and have no template here. Especially when you're doing boom bap, you want to look for like MPC templates. This is one tip here. We have these in our Discord. Just go to discord.gg/busyworksbeats, because in the Discord, I show you guys with these templates. So basically you have to put these in the same folder directory here. So you have to find your application. You have to go. Let me show you guys, man. I have to show you guys every video how to install this. Go to applications, find FL Studio, right click, show package contents, go to contents, go to resources, go to FL, go to data, go to patches, go to scores. So once you download the MPC file that we have in the Discord, discord.gg/busyworksbeats, I'll leave a link below. Drag it and drop it into this folder. Just double click and it will automatically create a folder for you. So that's how I have these options of MPC swing. You guys don't have this option, okay, by default. So you have to download that from our Discord. So once you have that, you can click the MPC swing. Now that's professional quantize for boom bap. Now, most people, what they'll do is they'll just load up the default patch here, and it sounds very, very, very stiff and scientifically quantized, and it kills the entire vibe. So what we're going to do is quantize the beginning portion of this beat, just to show you guys how much life it takes out of the beat. So I'm going to quantize the kicks, the snares, and the hi-hats. So let's do this. Now you guys know how to navigate. Boom. So now let's hear the same track. Now these should be routed to, I must have, whoops, that's my mistake. There we go. Now also too, here's one, I'm glad that happened. Another thing that beginner producers do, they don't have any velocity differences, especially in boom bap, and their beats sound very stiff. So you see all these ups and downs. To access this, grab the ellipses in your piano roll, just left click, pull this up, go to control, go to velocity. If you don't have a MIDI controller, fine, go to your tools here, go to humanize. This will add a velocity variation. I'd recommend that for you guys who don't have MIDI controllers. What we'll do here is just turn everything up. Let's hit Alt X, and we're gonna just turn everything up. I think this should, never mind, let's do it a different way. There we go. Okay, and we should be able to pull everything down in the same fashion, I think. Is it gonna do it? Okay, so now everything is linear velocity. So we're gonna pull this back to normal velocity. So basically you can also hit Alt and left click to do the same thing to restore back to basics. But for now, we're just gonna do it that way because I have too many velocity points. So again, Alt X, this is another way to turn your stuff up and down quickly using this level scaling. So this is another pro tip here. Just hit Alt X to turn stuff up or down. So it just depends on the plugin and depends on the sound. Sometimes when you play higher velocity, it triggers a different sound in your actual plugin. It just depends on the plugin. Okay, so let's do the same thing with the kicks. So the reason I'm doing this is I want to essentially get rid of the velocity curvature. So it didn't work on the kicks the same way. All right, so I'm showing you guys every step so that you know how to undo all this stuff. Okay, so here we go. So now the kicks, the hi-hats, and the snare are all this linear velocity and they're quantized. So this kills all the vibes. So let's hear the before, which is the red one, and then we're gonna hear the after, which is the pattern 2. So here's the beginner type boom bap beat. Now also too, the reason this sounds, now I forgot to turn off what's called the swing. So instead of turning off swing on that, we're gonna go to the, I'm glad all these mistakes happen so you guys know how to fix this. So the swing is on, which I meant to turn that off, but most people don't even know how to use the swing. So we're gonna go to the wrench tool and turn the swing off for these quantized layers, just to show you guys really what it sounds like with no vibe to it at all. So here's unquantized, unswung drums that most people create. All right, so it's like, yeah, it's a sample beat, has some vibe to it, but not what you're about to hear on pattern 2. Also too, I meant to turn up the mastering. So now let's do the same thing with mastering. I'm gonna turn the drums down so they're not super loud. Also, the drums are not mixed. All right, now let's get ready for the next turnaround in this. All right, so after this next bar, all right, listen for the change in the drum. And all the difference is timing, understanding those simple quantized changes, understanding that sometimes you do want time shift on your sample, like your hi-hats. If you go to the wrench tool, you can turn up what's called time shift. This will delay the hi-hats behind the beat. Now, it's not going to sound like much until you have the rest of the beat there, but that will help some of that timing flaw when everything feels so super stiff. So just that alone can open up your track and make it sound a lot bigger. Another thing is mixing. So basically what we covered is just general timing. Okay, but what I want to show you guys now is if I turn off all these effects and just turn them off, the beat sounds very empty and just not ideal. So listen to how flat the beat sounds. I'll turn it up just to compensate for the low volume, but this is the beat without any effects. Okay, so some people may say, okay, but it might sound good if you just turn it up and run it through a limiter. So let's do that. Let's just add some kind of EQ and then into a limiter. So we're going to turn the chain on, but this time all we're going to do is just basically boost the volume. So we're not trying to like overly mix it here. So let's just give it some gain. Now, some people could get away with that, but it just doesn't have that final sound. Now we're using only FL Studio plugins here. I'm not using any crazy third-party plugins. So let me Control Z my way all the way back to the original chain. So here's the original chain. It is a little aggressive, but let's turn everything back on. Now, when you mix individual sounds, like your drums, for example, or mix the sample and handle the side information and all these little things that we do in the mixing process, listen to how much cleaner the record feels. And it also has a vibe to it. All right, so you guys can hear the difference here. Now, I'm going to basically just sum up this video in the case that you skipped ahead. The main differences that make pros is understanding small timing differences. We covered things like quantize, for example. Another thing is dynamic. So I covered this, but you guys might not have noticed. The mix, the reason it sounded quiet at first is because I turned all the faders down for the entire mix. And then on the mix bus or the beat mix, what I did here was I added an EQ to boost up the volume again. So my number is 9. So I'll pull everything down 9 dB. You can read the value in the top left here in the info panel. So basically I'll highlight everything, hit Control. I'll turn everything down 9 dB in the mix. And then I'll go to the beat mix and go to the parametric EQ2. And then I'll boost using the furthest left knob. I learned this from Lifestyle Did It. I didn't even realize that was a level. So this knob I learned, or fader I learned from Lifestyle. We're going to boost this 9 dB. So we're going to pull that up 9 dB. So basically we're turning everything down 9 dB and then we're compensating so that we hear ourselves louder than we actually are. And this allows us to create what's called dynamic. Dynamic is the movement of your track. It's the way you get it to feel like that back and forthness. If your beats feel like they're not going back and forth, it's because you don't have enough dynamic range. And that's a quick way to add dynamic range, is to simply turn stuff down in the mix and then boost it in the beat mix bus to compensate, so that you're making decisions based on headroom and not just slamming everything to 0. And another thing is the sound selection. Now this will take time. You know, you're not going to know everything about everything. So it's like Pokemon. In order to know all the Pokemon, you got to see the Pokemon, you got to train with them, you got to know their moves and stuff. You got to learn about sounds. It's just going to take you hearing sounds. Sound selection does matter. And, you know, I would make a longer video, but I'll just leave it at that. Sound selection matters whenever you guys want to get better sounds. Again, one of the tips I recommend, especially for sample-based producers, is type up J Dilla samples into YouTube and see which playlist pulls up. And that way you can get a pre-curated list of samples that sound like J Dilla would sample these. And then that gives you a closer step to getting that J Dilla sound, for example. And whenever you guys want drum kits, type in like J Dilla drum kit Reddit. Somebody made a drum kit out there for almost every producer's sound. Okay. So just type in Kanye West drum kit Reddit. Okay. So just spend a day or two finding all types of samples. And again, it's like Pokemon. You have to go out, find the Pokemon. It might be in a cave. It might be in the ocean. It might be in the grass. You don't know. You got to go find it. So that's sound selection. And lastly is understanding music theory. Now this is kind of convoluted, so I'm just going to demonstrate it by playing my actual keyboard here. If it's on, is it on? The volume's off. Okay, so I'm going to listen to this song, find the key, and try to play 2 chords at least. I'm going to turn off some of the mixing though. My button. There we go. All right, now I'm going to try to play some keyboard over this. Now this last step is understanding music theory. You're going to have so many producers say they didn't know music theory. We don't mean you need to hear a chord and be like, oh, that's F sharp minor flat 5. You don't need to know that like that unless you play music and play with a band. I haven't seen any producers that need to know that in real time, but to each his own. So what you need to understand in music theory is how to figure out chords, how to add chords to a beat, and how to create a melody to the beat and a bass line, and the principles behind this. This is what I teach at busyworksbeats.com/music theory. So if you go to busyworksbeats.com/music theory, I will guide you through learning how to create bass lines, how to create chords, how to create melodies. It's a process. Once you have that process down, you can expand your ability to make different styles of beats. So let's just listen here and let's see what we can add. First step is finding the tuning, not the key, the tuning of the beat. For now, there's a latency, so I have to turn off the mastering here because it said a latency. So the first thing is figuring out the tuning of the beat and then figuring out the key. So it looks like we're tuned to 440 hertz. Looks like we're all the white notes. Let's find the root note. Looks like A is our root note. So now I know, okay, I'm in the key of A. What's the fifth of A? E. So I know the tonic is A. Okay, so my ear is hearing A, but not A as the root note. It's hearing A as the top note, which usually means that we are in a different root note. Let me see if I pulled up scalar to show you guys. I don't think I had it on this beat. So A is that focus, but it does not mean it's the root note. It could also be the perfect fifth for you. See how I'm playing A minor chords and it doesn't match? When in doubt, just play perfect fifths is what I mean. Okay, so yeah, so my ear is hearing A is the dominant. I'm trying not to get too deep with it. So in short, A is in here, but it's more the tone that we want to go to and then come back to, it sounds like D is our root note. So basically, I'm hearing A, and then I ask myself, okay, what's the fifth of A? It's E. But E doesn't feel like it's the tone. It doesn't feel like it just feels too bright. I could go down to E like that. Okay, but it doesn't. What I'm saying to you guys is understanding theory allows me to understand that A is not the root note. I realize that A is the fifth. The fifth of A is E. And then I ask myself, okay, that doesn't sound right when I play A minor. So A is in here somewhere. So it's the fifth of something. So let's go backwards. Now the fifth of D is A. So chances are, because we're playing all the white notes, that we're gonna base our chords around D minor. So now I'm just gonna voice the D minor chord, whether it's a minor seventh, minor ninth. So we're playing D minor ninth, but we're omitting the third, which is a Drake technique. So it's an open chord. Now I use music theory, not in a complex way. It sounds complex. Trust me, it does sound super complex the way I just said all that stuff. But once you understand the power of dominant and tonic, you can navigate a lot faster with music theory. And now I can create chords. And now all I need is those two chords to kind of navigate around this beat. Let me switch the sound to an E piano so it fits this vibe. So it turns out the piano was a little detuned. So when I went to those higher frequencies, these are all things you learn when you understand the basics of music theory. I found out the keyboard is actually detuned, so I pitched the keyboard up so it feels more naturally tuned to this beat. So I know it's a lot of steps, but now I can just freestyle with the chord. Showing you guys the power of music theory. I just showed you guys my thought process, and now we have multiple chords we could play over top this track. That's music theory. And I only played a couple chords based on that dominant. So that's what you guys can learn how to do. I know this video is long, but I want you guys to understand timing, music theory, dynamic, and sound selection are the things that make the best producers the best producers. All right, guys, let's wrap this up. Subscribe if you're new. Go to busyworksbeats.com/betterbeatmaker to learn how to make beats like the pros. Peace out, guys.